The only insults that hurt are the ones we believe. Next time someone insults you, remember, they're going to die. Everyone will forget about them. And if no one will remember them, then you might as well forget about them now. They are irrelevant. Your dream, your actions, your outcomes.
So now you know what the inside of my head looks like. Murder is just picking when someone dies. So it's like, if you hate someone, it's like you can just look at them and be like, oh, you're gonna die eventually. But like, and so like the idea is like, in your mind, you could murder every enemy you have. You just don't get to pick the time. But I just find that it's such a, like, murder only changes when, not that someone's going to die. And so if you think about like retribution on someone's like, this person said this thing to me, I want to kill him. It's like, oh no, you don't even have to. They'll die. They're going to die already. Like, you don't even have to, like, don't worry about it. They're going to die. And so it sounds so silly, but just connecting those two dots, I was like, wow, that's incredibly peace-giving. So like, why have a vendetta when life will take care of them for me? And so I just, like, you know, as a totally different frame, I was talking to somebody who has cancer in my life, and they were like really concerned. They were like, this has a 95% mortality rate over the next 5 years. And, you know, me being me, I was like, well, you know, 70-year-olds probably have a 60% mortality rate over the next 5 years anyways. I was like, and life has a 100% mortality rate. So, you know, worse, yes, but like how much worse? And so like, they didn't think it was funny, but but just as a it was intended to be comforting. It didn't succeed. But all that to say, these things that people cast on us, it just whispers in the wind, right? Like, if we think that our whole meaning is so infinitesimal, the idea that someone else can influence our trajectory when they themselves will disappear and become irrelevant seems so silly to me.
And they don't have our best interest at heart.
No.
They have the opposite of our best interest.
Yeah, they're literally trying to destroy you.
What about the only insults that hurt are the ones we believe? What about that?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I, like other people, get offended with things. And then I've also had times where someone says something with the intention to insult and it doesn't. And I was like, how can I get that to happen every time? And so it's the classic example of, you know, Chris, you have green hair. And then you would say, okay, whatever, sure. But you don't believe it, so it doesn't really matter. And so I think there's kind of a dual-sided like lesson, at least for me in this, is that when we are insulted, I try and pay attention to it, because I think, okay, either there's something here that they're right about and that I don't like about myself, in which case the response is to agree. And that's what's so frightening. And so it's like, if someone, so recently had someone made something blasting me about, I don't go home for the holidays. I made this video about it. And in the first 5 seconds of the video, of course, I'm like, if you love your family, fucking go home. This is for everybody else, right? But of course, no one actually watches that who makes that piece of content. And so they just went on this tirade about me. And I just said, God, I suck, period, as my comment. And because there's no, the stoic response to hate is to agree and one up. So level 1 is agree. So someone says, Alex, you're a fucking idiot. And you're like, believe me, if you knew half of it, you'd think more than that. Because it's the only way you can respond. And so my mental judo for these things, and I try to, now the good news for you and I is that we get lots of practice, right? Every day we have people hating on us. And so I get to practice. So like people meet you in real life and they're trying to insult you. You're like, dude, I have so many reps on this. Like, oh, good. And so it's just like, can I one up their insult? Like, if someone insults me, it's like, dude, you think that's good. Let me tell you how to really get me, right? And so just the frame of agreement evaporates conflict.
Yeah, that's your thing about most people are more interested in winning than being right.
Yeah.
So you just say, sure.
You're right. Yeah. Alex, you're an idiot. All of your business advice is terrible. I'd be like, you're right.
Now what?
Where do we go from here? Right? Wasn't that fun? And so we talk like, because I like human behavior a lot, but it's a extinguishing event. So like when you pull a slot machine, when null is the outcome, it nullifies. Agreement is the ultimate nullifier for insults. And I think that like, if the faster I reprogram that, so it's like, if you ever feel insulted, either Like, first, is it true? Like, if you are insulted, you believe them. Okay. Do I believe them because there's an element of truth? If there's an element of truth, why am I insulted? I should agree with them. It's just because we have some ego behind it of like, I'm going to be perceived a certain way.
Or maybe because it's poking a hole, it's wedging into the inauthenticity that someone has brought into the light, something which we thought we were able to keep in private.
One of my other life goals is to die with no secrets.
Why?
Just be... Because if we think about, at least for me, if I think about authenticity, to be seen as I truly am, then I would have no secrets. And I try really hard to not hold anything back, content or otherwise, so that I don't want to have 100 faces. Because if you always have something in the back room, then it means that to these people, you're this person and this is in the back room. To these people, you're this person in the back room. But the fewer back rooms I have, the more everyone is in one room and I can be just me. And that means that some people will hate me, and some people will like me, but they will actually like or hate me, not the idea or some facet, like we were saying earlier, like when you're in a relationship, putting on the act and being the performer. They're not hating the idea of me. They actually hate me. And at least there's some weirdness about like, at least that's true. I think so. I was trying to think about like what are counter examples. So like if someone attacks your character, right? So let's say someone comes out and says, Alex did some sort of sexual allegation or something like that I know isn't true, whatever, but they say that. Now that's going to besmirch my reputation, right? Now I can't be like, you're right. And if you really knew, right? You know, like, right? So I can't. If you knew the half of it. So those are the situations, right? So like if someone just says like, you're full of shit or your business advice is bad or whatever, then that's one thing. But in those situations, the only counter that I have seen is to be louder. And so if someone increases the volume on something, I don't believe that you draw attention to that person. I've more or less not been in the, I'm going to address someone directly, but I may counter what this person says without addressing them and be 10 times bigger and louder about it as a way to counteract that. And so like I had a bad reputation in college, which I've shared some of that in my story before. And the reputation was that I was a philanderer and was, all about girls and whatever. And so I wanted to not have the reputation. And so it wasn't like I was going to go talk to those girls and be like, I need you to recant your story. I had to make my actions so much louder that I was no longer going to be that way for an extended period of time to counteract that thing. And so if we're thinking about like how to respond to people being shitty to you, if you believe what they say and it's true, agree and one up. If what they say is something that isn't true but does besmirch your reputation, then you can only respond by being louder with the truth. And I think that like, I think about these things, obviously we're in a position where we have to deal with this all the time, as like almost playbooks for dealing with shots.